What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. The daughter of the late Madara Uchiha, Kushina Uchiha Uzumaki, though she never knew she was his daughter, she had just given birth to her two beautiful babies. The little tan boy, with a tuft of red hair, purple eyes and 3 identical whisker marks on each cheek, she and Minato had named Naruto, meaning maelstrom, also the main character of Minato's sensei, Jiraiya's book. The tale of the utterly gutsy shinobi, whilst the small tan girl with the red tuft, purple eyes, and the same whisker marks as Naruto, she and Minato had named Natsumi. Whilst Kushina was recovering, Bawako and Taji were silently cradling her children and Minato was just finishing up getting her seal, holding the Kyuubi, stable. Suddenly there was a noise, and a thump that sounded eerily similar to that of a dead body hitting the ground. She and Minato both whipped their heads around in search for what was wrong, when they both spotted it. The Sandame's wife, Bawako Sarutobi, as well as Taji, lying there unmoving. A shadowy cloaked figure that donned an orange mask with a black flame-like pattern on the left side. And a single eye-hole loomed over the top over the now deceased bodies, with both of their children in his grasp. He spoke in a calm, even tone. "Yondaime Hokage Minato, step away from the Jinchuriki, or your children will die at the ripe old age of 1 minute." As Minato was trying to figure out whom this masked man was, he was unaware that the seal holding the Kyuubi was slowly breaking, until Kushina cried out in pain. "Kushina!" shouted Minato with worry and alarm. "The seal's not done," he thought glumly. The masked man repeated again, in his calm tone. "Step away from the Jinchuriki, or do you not care if your children die?" "Hold it, Jay, just calm down." Minato tried to reason. "You should take your own advice, Minato. I am perfectly calm." The stranger spoke, mockingly. He proceeded to toss both children into the air. "Naruto, Natsumi!" Kushina yelled with terror and worry as she saw her babies in the air and the mysterious man aiming a kunai at each of them. There was a yellow flash as Minato teleported to his children, safely moving them from harm's way. "I see, you live up to your moniker, the Yellow Flash," the masked man stated. "But, now what?" he questioned. It was only then that Minato realized that the babies' blankets had several explosive tags covering them. Thinking fast, Minato safely removed the blankets and hiri-shined to safety, whilst the tags exploded, covering the now open area in smoke and debris. "Minato! Natsumi! Naruto!" Kushina cried with worry. Meanwhile, Minato had hiri-shined himself and his children to their house. He had tucked them in whilst thinking of what the masked man could be planning. He tried to separate Kushina and me, and is here when the Jinchuriki's seal is at its weakest. Could he be after Kyuubi? He came to his realization and yelled in frantic panic. "Shit, if he is, I'll have to go try save your mother. I can't let Kyuubi fall into anyone else's hands." Masked man and Kushina. After a while of staring at Kushina, he entered the seal, where he proceeded to use his Sharingan to control the Kyuubi. On the outside he spoke 3 terrifying words. "Come forth, Kyuubi." Then it all happened, an enormous roar and a vile red chakra. The Kyuubi appeared in all its glory. "We head for the village now," he commanded it. Stop," he heard Kushina weakly yell. He was quite surprised. She was still alive even after the extraction of the fox. He voiced his thoughts. "You Uzumaki truly are something special. Even ripping a biju from you won't kill you. It's only fitting for the Kyuubi to kill its former Jinchuriki." Kyuubi reared its paw back and struck. The smoke settled only to reveal Minato holding Kushina away from the attack. Kushina looked around urgently and then asked with worry, "Where's Naruto and Natsumi?" "Relax, I have hidden them somewhere safe," Minato replied soothingly. Kushina settled down at this. "Thank God." Minato, stop him, he has the Kyuubi and is heading for the village. Minato stopped in his tracks. Useless bitch couldn't even hold the Kyuubi back. He raged internally. He sighed. "Oh well, she's on death's door anyway, I'll just make Naruto and Natsumi weapons for the village." He thought the end part with glee, at the prospect of the village having 2 weapons. He then vanished with Kushina. House Naruto and Natsumi. Minato and Kushina appeared in a yellow flash. "Why?" Kushina questioned quietly. Minato placed Kushina into the bed with Natsumi and Naruto. "Never mind why. Just stay with Natsumi and Naruto," Minato replied sternly. "Natsumi, Naruto." Kushina started to weep. Minato, thank you and good luck, she said softly. Minato faced away from her and put his cloak on. I'll be back before you know it, he proclaimed cheerfully, on the inside though he was seething. Stupid whore, I can't let him reach the village or villagers there, the most important thing, as well as keeping the weapon. Coo. Hiruzen was sitting in an office doing paperwork covering for Minato when he felt something vile. It couldn't be, could it? He thought to himself. Suddenly an Anbu appeared in front of him. Sandame-sama, it's the Kyuubi. The Kyuubi attacked the village out of nowhere. The Anbu shouted frantically. It's as I feared, Hiruzen thought. I know, I'll hold it back, you go gather and protect the civilians. Hiruzen ordered. Hi sir. With that said, the Anbu left. The Sandame had a bunch of questions running through his mind. Did Kushina's seal fail? Were all the safeguards we put up really not enough? Kyuubi spotted Minato after he teleported to the Hokage monument. It immediately started to charge up a Bijudama and fired it at him. Minato however countered this by going through a string of hand seals at a very impressive pace. The Bijudama seemingly absorbed into the monument whilst Minato held out one of his Hiraishin kunai. The Bijudama then exploded, safely outside of the village. The masked man appeared and engaged Minato in a short fight. Just as the masked man was starting to warp him, Minato teleported away. As Minato appeared back where he saved his children from the exploding tags, his thoughts were analyzing the masked intruder. My attack just slipped right through him, then he became solid and started sucking me into some kind of dimension or something. What the hell was that move? The air distorted in front of him in a black vortex. The unknown masked shinobi started to appear in front of him. You won't get away from me, the masked man told him, having just fully appeared, whilst Minato was in deep thought about what was going on. Does he use space-time techniques too? Whatever it is must be how he moved so far after taking Kushina. He defeated the Anbu under the direct command of the Sandame. Got through our most powerful, top-secret barrier we have, and must have been aware that Kushina's seal would be weakened during childbirth. Then with the seal broken, he took the Kyuubi, then he stormed straight into Konoha and didn't even pause to deal with the barrier. There's only one man I can think of that makes sense. Are you, Madara Uchiha? Just after Minato questioned him, the masked man slipped off his hood showing short, spiky black hair, but Minato came to a conclusion. No, you couldn't be, he's long dead. Oh, I wouldn't be too sure about that, stated the masked man. Minato looked at him questioningly. It doesn't matter who you are, but why have you attacked Konoha? Oh, you know, it's fun, it's part of my plan, to start a war to bring peace. The mystery man answered seriously. Minato looked at him with narrowed eyes, thinking about his opponent. Whoever he is, he's incredible. He can control the Kyuubi, wields space-time ninjutsu superior to the Nidaime's and my own, and clearly has evil intentions. If I don't kill him now, he will become a greater threat than the fox. There's no hope for any of you, knocked Minato out of his thoughts. The masked man charged him with a chain cuffed to his wrists. Minato met his charge as he went to stab him with his kunai. The masked man however simply phased through him. The chain proceeded to wrap around Minato, binding him tightly. Minato teleported to his kunai again, and dashed at him with one still tightly in his grasp. They charged each other again. Minato threw his kunai, it phased through the masked man's head. When it was completely out of his head, Minato created a Rasengan, still charging forward. Just as the masked man grasped his arm, gotcha, Minato vanished, reappearing above him. Rasengan, shouted Minato as he smashed the technique into the masked man's back. The masked man seethed. Damn it, he teleported to the kunai he just threw. That was Hiraishin level 2. Minato declared proudly. Minato teleported to stab him in the back, and placed a seal on him. A contract seal, are you trying to pull the Kyuubi from my control? His masked opponent queered. Oh, I already did, it's no longer your weapon. Minato stated. It's mine. Ku, he thought with glee. You earned your title Yondaime Hokage. You wrestled control of the fox and injured me in one move, but the fox will be mine. One day, the fox and the world will bow to my will. There are still many doors open to me. With those last few parting words he vanished, in a black vortex. Something tells me he wasn't lying. Minato though warily. Kyuubi, hold it off until Yondaime-sama arrives, yelled one of the many shinobi to his fellow comrades. Said person looks on in complete and utter terror when he sees that the Kyuubi is charging up its own attack, the Bijudama. This is awful, is the thought running through Minato's head as he sees Kyuubi charging up its Bijudama. A loud cry of Kachiyose no Jutsu rung out, and all of a sudden the toad boss, Gamabunta, appeared in all his glory, the Yondaime atop his head. He looked around and noticed the battle that was going on and the fact that he had been summoned on top the greatest known Biju, the Kyuubi. The Yondaime has arrived, exclaimed one of the shinobi. Minato thinks back to what the masked man stated. The fox in this world will bow to my will. He bows his head. Hold the fox down for a minute. Minato yells to Gamabunta urgently. Look, I may be big, but I'm not a miracle worker. Gamabunta exclaimed, I need enough chakra to take him and the blast out of here. Minato yells again. Suddenly, he and the fox vanish. Minato, did he teleport the fox and himself? Hiruzen questioned. Boom, out there, shouts Hiruzen to the ninja present, seeing the giant explosion in the distance. Minato and Kyuubi. Minato gently puts Kushina down. Huff, huff. I've got to put up a barrier. Minato says to Kushina, my chakra is almost drained. Kushina thought in urgency. Chakra chains shoot out of her back, and she wraps the fox in them. Yuwa. Baby Natsumi and Naruto cry in Minato's arms. Kushina. An alarmed Minato yells. Kushina trembles in exhaustion. Ha, ha, sorry Natsumi. Naruto. I didn't mean to wake you. Minato looks on with fake concern. Kushina. I'll drag the Kyuubi back, and die with it inside me. That'll prevent it from coming back. For a while. Huff asterisk. It's the only way to save the three of you with the little chakra I have left. Kushina panted out, already on death's door. She smiles sadly. Thank you for everything. No, I can't let her do that. We need the Kyuubi. Minato thought in alarm. Minato thought quickly. Kushina, you made me your husband, made me the Hokage and made me these children's father, and I. Minato started to say, however was interrupted by a sadly smiling Kushina. Don't look sad Minato, I'm happy. Happy that you loved me, happy that it's our children's birthday. If I had any regrets it's that I won't see Kiyomi and Naruto grow up. At these words Minato got even more alarmed. Damn it, I can't let her take the weapon, he screamed mentally but composed himself. Kushina, he drifted off. You don't need to take the fox down with you. We can use the last of our chakra to see Natsumi and Naruto one more time, he tried to reason. Huh? Kushina said with a questioning look. Just a little more convincing. Minato thought mentally, he took a deep breath and started doing some hand seals, which Kushina overlooked. I'll split the last of your chakra, and seal it into each of them with the Hake no Fuin Shiki. Then I'll lead the Kyuubi away with a seal a non-Jinchuriki like me can use. The Shikifu Jin. He exclaimed just as he finished the seals, the Shinigami appeared. Kushina's eyes flew open wide. But, that user will be. She exclaimed. Minato continued on interrupting her. But I'll use it to be able to split the fox's power. It's just too great, it's physically and conceptually impossible to completely seal it all. I can't let the Kyuubi be revived without a Jinchuriki. It would destroy the balance of the Biju. But with the dead demon seal I can permanently split its power in half and seal half inside Natsumi and the remaining half will be sealed inside of Naruto with the Hake no Fuin Shiki. Minato finished explaining his excellent plan. No, Minato. Absolutely not. They are our children. That's why I don't want them to have this burden, my burden, and on their own. Kushina yelled vehemently. Minato looked shocked. But why? Why the Shikifu Jin? You don't have to die as well. Just so I can meet them for a few minutes when they're older. I wanted you to be there for him to raise them. So then why? Why are you sacrificing Natsumi and Naruto? Kushina snarled, and for what? The balance of the Biju. She hollered at him. Minato looked shocked, which then turned to an appalled look. Turning your back on the country, the village, is just as bad as abandoning your child. You should understand, you saw your village fall apart. You know the pain of growing up without a home of your own. And you know that we are a family of shinobi. Minato exclaimed. Kushina looked pissed. Don't bring my village into this, Minato. They only fought so that the children could get away from the attack. If there's one thing Uzushigakure taught us, it is that family is the most important thing. Village be damned, it's just a bunch of buildings. Buildings can be rebuilt, but people's live cannot be returned. You think this will be Natsumi and Naruto's home, if they are Jinchuriki? They will hate them. I wasn't because no one knew. This is different, people have been killed, the village attacked. The information won't be a secret. The village will vent its anger. Kushina yelled in fury. Minato continued on. I could never be a substitute for a mother, things that Natsumi and Naruto need to be taught that I could never do myself. That's the mother's job and I need you to carry it out. Even if you only have the briefest of moments to carry it out. It's not for you, it's for Natsumi and Naruto. Smiled Minato. Don't change the subject. It's not for Natsumi or Naruto. They'll be on their own. And hated. How could you do this? Is the village more important to you than your own children? Kushina shouted angrily. Be honest now, Minato. She said quietly. Very well, Kushina. Minato snarls. He continued. The village is the most important thing. We need a weapon to protect it. He stated. Kushina's shocked look changes to rage, and then pure undulated hatred. I see, then I hate you. Minato Namikaze. I was actually starting to consider you my husband. But you're no longer my husband. You're not Natsumi's or Naruto's father. And you won't ever be now. As far as I'm concerned, you're just a sperm donor. Kushina yelled in pure hatred and fury. Minato is shocked, but then he chuckles. I never loved you anyway. I used you for breeding a weapon. At the thought of what her children would go through, and being left alone, hated, possibly even die. The emotional trauma affected Kushina. If looks could kill. Kushina gave a hollow chuckle. I used you first, bastard. I wanted my children to be stronger than any. I couldn't find my destined mate, so I settled for the strongest. Senju. Haha. You didn't know though, did you? No, the Kyuubi informed me of your lineage. I only agreed for my children's sakes. You never even had with me. Ha ha ha. She cackled madly before continuing. It was simple to get pregnant. All I had to do was put you in genjutsu, then erase the memory and implant false memories if you broke free. Though you never thought to break out because they were used for pleasure, and you didn't need to suspect anything. Afterwards I got a semen sample and was artificially inseminated. That's it. Kahahaha. She finished cackling madly, as if insane. Minato shook with rage. He'd been outplayed, and he never even gotten laid to the whirlpool bitch. She was a fine piece of ass too. He quickly tells the Shinigami to split the Kyuubi's chakra into yin and yang. He seals the yin half into Naruto. Damn you, cursed Yondaime. Kyuubi shouts with hatred. Kushina's chains weaken due to losing more chakra. Damn, can't get my revenge. Sorry Misumi, Sochi. Kushina sadly thought. Minato notices the chains weakening. Damn it, useless bitch, he thought. The Kyuubi takes a chance and tries to stab Natsumi in order to not have the last of his chakra be sealed. Minato and Kushina appear and block the claw from reaching baby Naruto. It pierces them through the stomach, however. You might have thought you won. Wait until you see my surprise. Kushina snarls. Minato looked furious. Does it look like I care about surprises right now? He states. Kuchiyose no jutsu, he yells. Ah, the Kyuubi and the Yan. Die. Me. What the hell happened to you? The little toad yells in question and shock. Gamatora, I'm entrusting you the key to both of the seals. Please hurry to Jiraiya sensei and store yourself within him, ordered Minato. Hiruzen. I see. Minato is making a new weapons for the village by making his children Jinchuriki and saving the village. Too bad his plan of turning them into weapons are going to fail. Hiruzen says. Minato. Got it, replies Gamatora. Now that the Shikifu Jin and first half is sealed, all I have to do is repeat the Hake no Fuin Shiki and seal some of Kushina's and my chakra. I don't want Kushina trying to corrupt the weapons, but they'll be too loyal by then and they'll need her to help control the fox, Minato thought. He talks. Natsumi, Naruto, listen me your weapons. You have no emotions, no fear, show your enemies pain and always protect your village no matter what. Kushina decides to speak up one last time before he seals the Kyuubi. Natsumi, Naruto. She chuckles. See you in a few minutes, she smiles. Hake no Fuin Shiki. With the barrier down, the Sandaime collects baby Natsumi and Naruto from the sealing altar, and wait for a few minutes until he senses someone familiar behind him. He speaks. It's good to know that his plan has failed now that you're back here again, isn't it, Kushina? She smiles. Kushina Uzumaki was standing behind her grandfather figure watching him as he handles Naruto and Natsumi in his arms carefully, and then he slowly starts to walk to Kushina, then gives her both the twins, whom she looks at them with teary eyes. She didn't want her children to carry this burden that she carried before. She looks at Naruto Sochi, then looks at Natsumi Mesame. She says their names softly. Hiruzen just looks at this scene in sadness and anger. Sadness because he knows that being a Jinchuriki is not the greatest thing to be, in fact it's the opposite of great. He doesn't want to see them grow up in hatred and glares by others by having a demon within you. And anger because he thought that he had made the right choice in choosing Minato to be a Hokage. A Hokage is supposed to be a person who is kind-hearted and very honest, but when he had been told by Kushina one day that he didn't even care about her, whom he sees as a daughter, in which he got angry at and played everybody thinking he was a nice kind-hearted person, he even played him. All Minato had cared about was turning the people into weapons and didn't even care if they died or not. It was like something that Danzo would do. Kushina, he says, and she looks at him, go home and rest. I know you are pretty exhausted since this is a lot to take in with Naruto and Natsumi being the new Jinchurikis of the Kyuubi. Hiruzen finishes and she nods, then gets up and starts walking with him, following, to then stop after 10 minutes of walking and turns around to look at the third. Gigi, I know I should have told you this sooner, but I feel as if Minato, she spits out his name as if it was venom, wasn't the only one in this. The whole turning the children and me into weapons, Kushina says. Hiruzen stays quiet thinking over what she says and looks at her to only nod since he didn't know what to think or say right now, but feels as if she is right. They walked in silence for 20 minutes all over the village, looking at the damage done by the masked figure and the Kyuubi. They see many people in the streets crying, many children now orphans since many shinobi and citizens died during the attack, leaving them alone. And they see many dead bodies all over. The scene was just gruesome. After a few more minutes they reached the Uzumaki, Namikaze, now only Uzumaki compound, which was deep within the forest, protected by many seals that make it undetectable for anyone to see. The only people that know about it is Jiraiya of the Sanina, dad-like figure to her and sensei to Minato. Tsunade Senju, also known as the Slug Princesses, and the legendary sucker, given to her because of her very bad luck. She is a sister-like figure to Kushina and also her sensei. Then there is Hiruzen Sarutobi, or as many call him, the third Hokage, and the professor. Due to his knowledge and for mastering the 5 elements, he is basically a grandfather-like figure to Kushina. He was one of the people that she trusted more than anybody. And lastly her friends, in which consisted of Tsume Inuzuka, mother of Hana Inuzuka and newly born Kiba Inuzuka. Makoto Uchiha, one of her best friend and the mother of Itachi Uchiha, or otherwise known as Izumi, in which only a bit of people knew about, and newly born Sasuke Uchiha. Hitomi Hyuga, mother of newly born Hinata Hyuga. Yoshino and Shikaku Nara, mother and father of newly born Shikamaru Nara. Mebuki Haruno, mother of newly born Sakura Haruno. Inoichi and Mrs. Yamanaka. I do not know her name, father and mother of newly born Ino Yamanaka. Choza and Mrs. Akamichi. I don't know her name, mother and father of newly born Choji Akamichi. Kurenai Yuhi, otherwise known as the Genjutsu mistress, for her amazing skills on Genjutsu, also a student on Kushina's team. Hana Inuzuka from the Inuzuka clan, another student in Kushina's team. Yugo Izuki, or as many people call her, Kat, due to her being an Anbu and the Genjutsu mistress, due to her skills with a sword, being one of the few that are masters. And Anko Mitarashi, the 4th member of Kushina's team, since Orochimaru had left her after Minato had been named the 4th Hokage, leaving Anko with a curse mark seal. Since then the 3rd Hokage had put Anko in her team, thinking it could be for the better, all 4 of them being called the Ice Queens of Konoha, for rejecting every one of the men in Konoha and also hating perverts. Kushina opened the gates open and walked in, but after a few steps Sarutobi spoke. Kushina, I have to go and be at the council meeting tomorrow. Okay, Hiruzen says, and sees that she nods and leaves to go home and rest. Kushina walks into her home and goes directly to bed with her children to sleep, hoping things could get better in the future. -1 hour earlier, Kushina had just come back. You know what happens from then on. But what they didn't notice was that there was a person with an Anbu uniform and a blank mask with the words, "Nay," on it, watching the whole thing and shinshin away to report to his leader. Rude bases. Danzo-sama, the rude Anbu says. Report, Danzo says emotionless. Danzo-sama, something has happened that had caused Minato Namikaze to die, but not before sealing the Kyuubi into his two children twins Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze and Natsumi Uzumaki Namikaze, making them the new Jinchurikis. He says and sees Danzo's smile. But after the sealing was done and both Minato and Kushina, or at least I think it was her, he sees Danzo raise an eyebrow and decides to explain, "You see, after they both had died." Kushina had come back after a few minutes and looked okay. Danzo-sama, he finishes. "She has come back, you say? Well, that is an unexpected turn of events," Danzo says, "but no matter, we will go as continued with the plans," he says. "Sir, what about Kushina?" the root said. "Leave her for now and do not do anything, if not then it will cause too much suspicion," he says, knowing that if he did anything then it will cause too much suspicion. "Hi," he says and shunshin away. "This may cause a setback in our plan, but it will go as continued. I will eliminate you if you cause a problem, Kushina. Konoha is meant to rule over everything," Danzo says in his thoughts. Next morning, Kushina wakes up and sees that both Naruto and Natsumi are sleeping peacefully and without making a sound. Seeing this, she smiles. She gets out of bed and goes to make breakfast for her and the milk for Naruto and Natsumi. -15 minutes later, once she was done eating, which was in 10 minutes, and made the milk in 5, she started to walk to Naruto and Natsumi since she didn't want to leave both of her children alone for a long time, so she goes to her room with 2 milk bottles, and once she enters she sees that Naruto and Natsumi are still asleep. So she lays with them for a few minutes going over what happened yesterday until she remembered that Hiruzen had told her to go to the meeting today. She wrapped Naruto in a blue blanket and Natsumi in a pink blanket and shunshin to Hiruzen's home. Once there she sees that he was already awake and ready to go to the meeting. "Hey Gigi," she says smiling. "Ah Kushina, you're here with the twins too?" Hiruzen says, looking at her and the twins with a kind smile. "Hi," she says. "Ready to go?" he says and sees that she nods. "Let's go then," and started walking to the council room. Council room. Once entering, Hiruzen sees that the council was already filled up, on with one side the civilian side of the council and on the other side was shinobi side in the council room. There was also the 3 advisors of the council, which were Sarutobi's 2 old teammates and rival Koharu Utatane, Homura Mitokado, and then there is Danzo Shimura, Sarutobi's the commander of the disabled route, though only Koharu and Homura knew. On the shinobi side, you could see the various clan heads. They included of Choza Akamichi, Shibi Aburame, Hiyashi Hyuga, Sume Inazuka, Shikaku Nara, Inoichi Yamanaka, and Fugaku Uchiha. The council sees that Hiruzen walk in and Kushina walk in and started to go quiet. Hiruzen speaks. "Now we are here to discuss about the Kyuubi's attack yesterday. Anything to report or question?" he says. Shikaku stands up and speaks. "Troublesome all-start Sai, half of the village was destroyed, leaving 94 children or orphans, and half now homeless." He goes on, blah blah blah. Who wants to hear this? "I see, so that's how bad it is. Sai, we will have to call our allies to help us. Now anything else to add?" Hiruzen says and sees that Danzo stood getting a bad feeling. Hiruzen with Minato gone, who will take the Hokage position, the route commander says. Hiruzen thinks silently, so that's the game he is playing, so he decided beat him to what he was aiming for. "I will. Now that Minato is gone I will have to take the position again. Okay, any objections?" And sees that nobody raised their hand. Danzo grits his teeth. He knows that he can't do anything, so he just stays put until he remembers something when the council began. "Sarutobi, why are those 2 babies in here with Uzumaki-sama?" he says in an emotionlessly voice. Hiruzen sighs and says, "I guess it's time you finally know." "Know what, Hokage-sama?" a fat merchant says. "Kushina here is the wife of Minato Namikaze, our 4th Hokage," he says and sees all the wide looks on the civilian council side. The notices that they are about to speak. He starts talking again. "And as for the 2 babies, well, they're Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze and Natsumi Uzumaki Namikaze, children of both Kushina-chan here and Minato Namikaze." The civilian council erupts in chaos. Why weren't we told of this? They demand only to get blasted back with tons of ki from Kushina. The reason why you weren't told of this was because Minato had many enemies and feared that if he knew then they would try and harm me along with the children. She says. That is right, and he feared for the worst, and so he had the marriage in secret. Hiruzen finishes calming the council down until Danzo spoke again. Here is in what happened to the Kyuubi. He finishes wanting Sarutobi to tell that the twins are the jailers so the plan could go into motion but did not expect the answer he received. As you know, the Kyuubi could not be killed, so Minato sacrificed himself in order for the village to remain and sealed the Kyuubi into a newborn child. He pauses. But Minato did not say who the child was, so it is unknown. He said, lying, knowing that if he told them that Naruto and Natsumi had the Kyuubi within them, then they would start shouting for the children's death. Danzo on the outside but in the inside was gritting his teeth. Kaharu speaks up, Hiruzen, how are we going to know who the children are? Only time will tell, Kaharu, only time will tell. Now is that everything? Good, now dismissed. The third finishes and everyone stands up and leaves, leaving behind Kushina and Hiruzen. Kushina starts to speak up. Well, that went okay, she says, smiling. Yes, but we still have to be weary of Danzo from now on since he was acting strange and was looking at Naruto and Natsumi a lot, the third says. She nods, hi, she leaves. Hope things won't be too troublesome, sigh asterisk. He thinks going back to his old office. Danzo. Damn it, my plan backfired, he screams mentally and goes on for a few more minutes until he thought of something. Yes. Yes, that might actually work. He starts grinning like a madman. Root, he shouts. Suddenly 5 Root are in front of him. Hi, I want you to spread rumors, Danzo says. What rumors, Danzo-sama? One of the Root say. Rumors that Natsumi Uzumaki Namikaze is the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. He finishes with a madman grin while thinking, ha 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 ha, since the village was attacked then their hate will surely come over them, ha 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 ha, this plan is perfect. Hi, the Roots say and leave. While still grinning he thinks, Hiruzen, you fool, you really didn't think me and Minato didn't have a backup plan, did you? -3 days later. The rumor spread fast, and by fast I mean like Hiraishin fast. When Kushina found out about the rumor, well, let's just says she was really pissed. She attacked anyone who said anything bad about her daughter. She had her suspicions on who it was, but she didn't have proof to tell the Hokage it was him. When the Hokage found out about the rule, the only thing he could was just put out a law so that no one would speak about Natsumi's status, but that failed. He also had another problem, and that was Danzo, his old rival. After Natsumi's status was revealed, Danzo was constantly trying to get Natsumi under his root program, but Hiruzen was always one step ahead and declined him, saying that she would be better as she was with her family and enjoyed her childhood somewhat, since many children will not want to play with but still enjoy her childhood. With Kushina, Naruto, Natsumi. Kushina was looking at her son and daughter sleep peacefully, but was looking a little bit more at Natsumi sadly because of her status that was told. She didn't want her daughter to live the life of a Jinchuriki, in which was a life full of sadness, hate, and loneliness, but since she and Naruto were alive she didn't have to live a life full of loneliness. She then heard a knock at the door and knocked her out of her thoughts. She went downstairs to the door and opens it only to see Jiraiya. Ero Sennin, she says excitedly and hugs him to death. Hey Kushina-chan. He replies back trying to breath. Kushina notices that when she looks up and quickly lets go. Sorry, I'm just so happy to see you, she says while rubbing her head sheepishly. Jiraiya quickly breathes in all the air he could, wondering if Kushina's strength is similar or greater than one of Tsunade's punches. After a while he was all okay. Come in, Ero Sennin. She moves out of the way and he comes into the house while noticing that all the pictures of Minato are gone, which is all the pictures, but he couldn't blame her. He goes into the living room and sits down in a sofa. So what brings you here, Ero Sennin? Kushina says, wondering. Well, first of I'm here to says sigh that I'm sorry about what Minato did. If I had known then IWOU. He starts only to get interrupted. Don't worry about it, Ero Sennin, I forgive you, besides you didn't know. If you had then, well, you would have told me earlier, she says, waving him off. Jiraiya sighs in relief, knowing that Kushina doesn't hate him. Thank you, but the thing that hurts me is the fact that he was like a son too and he played me. Do you how much that hurts? He finishes angrily and sadly with tears down his face. I knew most of my life, she says, and sees that he looks at her in confusion, deciding to continue. From when I came to Konoha I instantly felt like I didn't belong here, but since the Senju and Uzumaki were allies then I had no other choice. So I stayed, but I still felt like this place was evil and corrupted, that's why I felt like I didn't belong there. After a few days I decided to tell Mito-sama, and what her answer was surprised me, only for Jiraiya to talk. What was it? He says. She said that when she first arrived she felt exactly the same, surprising to him. She said that the most she felt evil and corruption was from Hashirama Senju, surprising him even further, I know right? That was my reaction, and what surprised me the most was that she really didn't love him. The only reason she was there was because it was for her clan, and I know that I keep saying she keeps surprising me, but the one that gave me joy was when she said, I wanted to be with someone who is carefree, lovable, great with kids, not a corrupted man. So she told me for herself to really find that right man and be happy in a nice place in her life. She did a jutsu that had been in the Uzumaki clan for a long time that could only be done by women, known as Uzumaki Kinden no Tekiniku Seimei no Bunri, Uzumaki forbidden technique life separation. She pauses. What it does is basically it creates another you just like a clone, but this one doesn't dispel the drawback to this forbidden technique is that you the original one can't be around at the same time as the other, so the original has to be put in another room that is meant for this technique, and when going into the room you will be given 3 choices to how you want to get out or when you want to get out. 1. The one you're chosen to be with goes to the room and gets you, which is the one Mito-sama chose, and how you say will he get you? Well, he will be attracted to the room like something is calling him. 2. When your other dies, in which is the one I chose, then you will awaken. 3. Whenever you want to awaken the you can, but the other dies as soon as the original awakens. When you're in the room, then your body will stop aging at around 25 and will remain young. Also, when awakening you'll receive all the memories of your old life, but then you will have to train harder to be back in shape as the clone you. Anyways, as I was saying, when she told me about this technique that she used, she gave the option of doing it or not, saying I was like granddaughter to her, so it was my choice. She pauses again. So I did it, but unlike her I chose the second option because I already knew that I was chosen to become the second Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, and childbirth was dangerous for me, that it might cause me to die. Explaining why I am here today. As for Minato, well, the first day I introduced myself in the academy, or rather my other introduced herself, she felt evil, corruption, and greed from him, so she played him too. Gladly me still hated it when people called her tomato, but anyways she knew from the start that he was evil and up to something. She finished and looked at Jiraiya, who looked like a gaping fish. It took about 10 minutes for him to snap out of it and looked at Kushina. Wow, Kushina was the only thing he said. I mean, this whole thing was a whole lot to process. Yeah, sorry for keeping this a secret from you. Since you were his sensei, then I didn't know whether you would tell him or not, she says. He nods in understanding, knowing why she did it. There is silence for a few seconds until he remembers something and the reason he came here for. Kushina. She looks at him. Can I see them? He asks, and she smiles, standing up and going upstairs. -3 minutes later, Kushina came down with her 2 bundles of joy. On her right was Natsumi sleeping peacefully, and on her left was Naruto, who was waking up. Kushina gave Natsumi and the now awake Naruto to Jiraiya. Jiraiya looks at them and notices something from both of them, and that was that they looked a lot like Kushina. Gladly Naruto looked like a male version of her, but still they looked a lot like her. He only wishes that they, or at least one of them, doesn't get her temper. They look just like you, he says. I know, right, Kushina said. Jiraiya kept looking for 10 more seconds, then again he remembers what his sensei told him in the morning. He looks at Natsumi sadly. Kushina sees it and does the same. I really wonder if it was a part of his plan, she says. He looks up. Why did he have to give her this life? Is what I want to know, did he only care for the village rather than his children? Jiraiya says sadly. Many give her glares thinking she's the Kyuubi. Some were even as foolish as to try and kill her, but with no prevail. She says sadly and angrily. So what will you do? He asks her. Keep her here along with Naruto for at least 3 or 2 years, only letting some people I trust in, she finishes. I wish I could be here to help you raise them, but I got to manage my network to see what Orochimaru and other things that might cause harm, Jiraiya says sadly. It's okay. I just hope that I do a great job in protecting them, Kushina says. Jiraiya smiles. I know you will, Kushina. He gives the twins back to Kushina. Look, I wish I could stay, but I can't, sorry, he says sadly, and sees that she nods, so he stands up and leaves. Kushina looks at Naruto and Natsumi sadly but smiles. Don't worry, you two, mom is here and no one will hurt you, especially you, Natsumi. I will hurt them if they hurt my princess and of course my little prince, she says, hugging them. 4 years after the Kyuubi attack. Natsumi, Naruto, come downstairs, it's time to eat, yelled Kushina as loud as she could so that the twins could hear her. She waits for a few minutes for both of them to come down. She hears footsteps coming down the stairs and she turns to see them. She sees that Naruto was coming ahead of Natsumi, as always, with him being the overprotective brother. Naruto wore a black long sleeve with the Uzumaki symbol on the back and a pair of blue pants. Natsumi came behind Naruto wearing a white t-shirt with the same Uzumaki symbol on the back and a pair of black pants. Kushina looked at them with a smile. In the 4 years since she came back from the chamber, things have been good and bad for them. Good because she got to spend more time with the twins ever since she said that she wouldn't allow the twins to go outside. But very bad for her since there were many assassination attempts on both for 2 reasons. 1. They knew that Natsumi was the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, so of course they would hate her and try to kill her. And second, was that they also knew that Naruto was the son of Minato. The villagers didn't think of her as the daughter of him. So Iwa and other of his enemies would try and kill him, but she didn't allow that. Yes, during those 4 years Kushina quickly got back into shape so she could protect them. "Hi Ka-chan. Is it ramen again?" Natsumi asks. Natsumi Uzumaki Namikaze was very much like her mother in every kind of way. She had the same fiery type of attitude, tomboyish like her when she was little, and of course the addiction of ramen. She cared for her mother a lot, but not as much as her brother. She always did what he told her no matter what. And why, may you ask, would she do that? Well, of course he would be there when she was sad, lonely, mad, and when she needed help. He was her idol, one in which she looked up to besides their mother. "Yeah, is it Ka-san?" Naruto said, agreeing with her. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze was very smart for his age, even more smarter than when Izumi was when she was little. Naruto started to walk when he was just 12 months old and started talking at 13. Kushina's friends called him a prodigy of all prodigies because of his smartness. Naruto knew what was happening around him at the age of 2 1/3. He knew that people were out to hurt him and his sister, so taking an extra precaution, he always stayed with his sister to protect her no matter what. Naruto had a happy yet calm exterior. "Natsumi, Naruto, it's not always going to be ramen," Kushina says, looking at them, and sees their sad faces when she said it wasn't ramen, so she does what any other parent would do when they see their children upset. "Gotcha," she says, not wanting to see them sad. They both lighten up after hearing that they were gonna have ramen. "That's not funny, Ka-san, you know how much Natsumi-chan," Naruto said. "Sorry Sochi, Masumi," she apologizes. "Anyways, it's time to eat." Naruto, Natsumi, and Kushina start eating in silence until Natsumi breaks it. "Ka-chan, when are Anko ne-chan? Kuranai ne-chan? Yugo ne-chan? Hana ne-chan going to visit again? I want to see them again, they haven't come in a long time." Natsumi says sadly about not seeing her sister-like figures. "Masumi, you know they have missions to go on," Kushina says. "I know they will come back to see you when they have time," she says, trying to cheer her up. "I know, but I miss them," Natsumi says, upset. Naruto sees his sister and also tries to cheer her up. "Don't worry Natsumi-chan, they'll come," he said. Natsumi looks at her brother and cheers up once he says that. She always trusted her brother. "Okay Oni-chan," she says happily and goes back to eating. Kushina watched the whole thing with a smile. After a few minutes they finished. "Thank you Ka-chan, san," the twins say. "You're welcome, now go take a bath," Kushina said. The twins went up into their room and took a bath together, while Kushina went to wash the dishes. -10 minutes later, Natsumi got out of the bathroom first, and since her Oni-chan was still taking a bath, she went to go see her mom. She walked through the hallway and went to her mom's room. She heard crying from within and went directly in, not caring if she knocked. Natsumi saw her mom crying on the bed while on her right hand was a picture. She looked closer and saw a picture of her, Kushina, and Naruto. "Ka-chan, what's wrong?" Natsumi asks, worried of seeing her mom like that. Kushina looks up and sees Natsumi right at the door looking worried at her. She thought that they wouldn't be able to hear her. "Huh? Oh Natsumi, it's you," she says. "Nothing's wrong," she said, trying to lie to her, not wanting her daughter to look worried. Flashback. Kushina just finished washing the dishes and decides to go to her room knowing her children are still taking a bath. She goes into her room and changes into her night clothes, ready to go to sleep. After changing into her night clothes, she was about to lay down until she sees the picture of her Natsumi and Naruto. She takes it and remembers what happened so far. Kushina remembered all the assassination attempts that came on Natsumi and Naruto. All those memories started making her tear up. It's all your fault, Minato, because of you they will never have a normal life. She started to crying. She didn't want her son and daughter to live a life of always watching your back and fear. She started crying more until Natsumi came in. End flashback. Okay, Natsumi said, still worried. Where's your brother? Kushina says, noticing that Naruto wasn't with Natsumi. He's still taking a bath. Are you sure you're okay, Ka-chan? Natsumi only received a smile in return. I am, thank you, Misumi, Kushina said. Now go before your brother gets worried. Natsumi quickly went back, not wanting to worry her brother. Once she left, Kushina looks back at the picture one last time. Before going to sleep, Naruto got out of the bathroom and noticed that Natsumi wasn't there, so he went to bed figuring she might come later. Naruto laid on the bed looking at the ceiling, going over the things that happened until now. When Naruto was little, he was always curious on the things that happened around him, and what interested him he would try see what else is there to it. He knew his mind was more advanced than those his age. He also knew that he was the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi when he was 3 years old, and how did he find out? When he read a book on how to unlock chakra, it said that the best way to do it was to meditate, and guess what that led to? Flashback. 3-year-old Naruto had just finished reading a book on how to unlock chakra. And it had said that an easy way to do it was to meditate. So he went into a meditative pose and meditated. Mindscape. Naruto opened his eyes and saw that he was in a sewer. He got confused, I mean he was just in his room and now a sewer. He stood up and looked around and suddenly saw a light at the end of the sewer passage, so what else to do then go towards and see what was at the end. Getting towards the end of the light, he saw that there was a huge room and in front of it was a cage with a paper that said, "Seal," on it. He took more time to look around when he started getting bored, so he went to the cage and tried to see what was behind it. "Hello? Is anyone there?" he asked. He heard a growl and suddenly a demonic voice spoke. "So my jailer finally decided to meet me?" "That was quick," a deep voice said. Naruto was startled by the voice and looked and saw a fox head coming out of the dark. After a while, Naruto decided it would probably be best if he knew what was going on. "Anyo, if you don't mind me asking. Where are we exactly? And who are you?" The fox blinked. "Right now we are in your mind." She made a sweeping gesture to the area around her. "This place is called your mindscape. Think of it as a place inside of you that you can go to when you want to or are in trouble." Naruto only understood that this place was somewhere he could go to whenever he wanted to, but he really didn't understand what she meant by his mind. Could people go into their minds? Despite his confusion, he nodded anyway, figuring he would learn what she meant eventually. The fox continued, "As for my name, it's Kurami. However, you may know me better by my title of Kyuubi no Yoko." Naruto thought for a moment. He had read a book about the Kyuubi before he was sure of it. He blinked as he recalled the information. "I thought the Kyuubi was an evil demon that the Minato killed. There's no way you can be the demon." "I am Kit," Kyuubi said sadly. "However, I am not evil as people say I am. I was controlled into attacking your village." It pauses. "As for the Yondaime, while he did defeat me, in a sense, but he could not kill me. Demons cannot be killed by mortals, so he did the next best thing by sealing me into a newborn, in this case 2 babies. Sealed? And Natsumi is the second baby, right?" asked Naruto, not really understanding what that means. "Yes, I am inside of you," it said, wondering how best to describe the art of sealing, or at least how it pertained to their situation to a 3-year-old. It shook its head. There was nothing it could really say that would make sense to the boy. "All you need to know for now is that I am inside of you. And yes, your sister is the second baby." "Why did he put you inside me?" Naruto asked, growling now that he knew he had a demon within him because of his father. "The only thing I heard before I was sealed within you and your sister is that he was trying to make you, your sister, and mother weapons for Konoha," the Kyuubi said. Naruto, hearing that his own father was making him sister and mother weapons for the village, made him really angry. In fact, angry wasn't what he was feeling right now. No, right now he was downright pissed. After a few 20 minutes he calmed down, but he was still pissed. "So what now?" he says. "I don't know," the Kyuubi said. He asks, "Kyuubi, why is my mindscape a sewer? Can't you change it?" he says, wondering. "It's your mind, Kit, not mine, so you can change it, not me," it says. "Oh, I don't know what to think of," he says. "Don't worry about it. For now let it stay a sewer. You're still a child, so you don't know much," the Kyuubi said. Again there was silence until Naruto spoke. Wait, how long have I been here? It must have been hours. Oh man, Ka-san and Natsumi-chan are going to kill me. He says frantically, fearing what both the girls would do to him, mostly his mother. Oh, how he feared her. Sure, he loved her, but she was downright death when she was angry. Calm down, Kit. The Kyuubi said, trying to calm him down, but saw that Naruto wasn't listening, so it tried 5 more times until, I said calm down. The Kyuubi screamed and Naruto stopped, not wanting to be screamed at again. Good, now, you don't have to worry about your mom or sister killing you, because one day in here is 6 months, and since you only been in here 1 hour and a half outside, you were meditating for 30 seconds. The Kyuubi finished surprising Naruto. Now he could do whatever he wants, train in his mindscape for as whenever he wants. Wait, if I stay here for days, then does that mean I will age older on the outside? He wondered. No, you will remain the same on the outside and inside no matter how much you stay here, the Kyuubi said. Oh, then that means I can train here, right? He said with enthusiasm. Wow, hold on, kid, just because it's your mindscape doesn't mean I can't do anything, the Kyuubi said, not wanting to see the Naruto all the time in there with it. What? Yelled Naruto. Yeet, so until you can change this sewer, then don't bother coming here, the Kyuubi said. But that just isn't fair. I'm 3 and Ka-san says we can't go outside the gates, so I don't know what to think of besides my home. And I don't want to see you destroying my home, exclaimed Naruto, only to get a snort from the demon. Like I care, so until then don't come back. Got me. With that said, the Kyuubi kicked out Naruto out. Outside, Naruto looked at his surroundings and saw that he was back into his room. He looked at the clock and saw that the Kyuubi was right, he was only there for 30 seconds. He grumbled under his breath about Baka Kitsunes. End of flashback. Ever since then he had tried to get books with any type of pictures so he could change his mindscape and would at least please the Kyuubi so it could let him train in there, but every one of them failed. That didn't stop his training though. He would train at night so his sister and mother wouldn't know and tell him to stop. So far he has only done the basics and chakra exercises like tree climbing and leaf concentration. The water walking he hasn't done, since the only body of water in the compound is his mom's pond, and he knew how much his mother cared for that pond, so he decided not to do the exercise until he could leave the pond. He read many scrolls, but that was all he could do for now. Naruto was already asleep when Natsumi had come in. Natsumi figured he would be asleep since she was gone, so she went to her brother's right side and went to sleep with him, deciding to tell him about his mother tomorrow. Unknown place. Zetsu, said an old raspy voice. The man was old, with his thin and white hair reaching waist length and shoulder length bangs framing the sides of his face, covering most of his right eye, but you could clearly see that he was missing his right eye. He was Madara Uchiha. Hi Madara-sama, said a voice. He had short green hair, yellow eyes, and his body had 2 different colored halves. His left side was completely white, while the right side was almost entirely black. He had 2 large Venus flytrap-like extensions around him. His name was Zetsu. How long has it been since her death and since I last seen her, said Madara. It's been 22 years, Madara-sama, Zetsu said. 22 years, huh? Time sure flies by, Madara says. Ever since he heard of his wife's death he had been glum. He had seen his daughter only when his wife had given birth, but he knew he couldn't stay because he would only cause trouble, so he had to leave, only leaving his daughter something. Zetsu, he says, getting the attention of Zetsu, go and get me something that I left my daughter. Where is it? Black Zetsu asks. You said that she had went to Konoha, right? Madara said, and sees that Zetsu nods. So it must be in the Uzumaki compound that she is supposed to be in. What is this thing you want us to find? Zetsu asks. Before I had to leave Uzugakure I had left her a necklace with the Uzumaki symbol on it, so you will easily know which one it is. Madara says. That necklace was the only thing left that connected him and his daughter. You know where the compound is, right? Hi, Zetsu says. Good, now I want you to bring that necklace here and don't come back until you bring it, okay? Madara said sternly, leaking out key to Zetsu. Hi, Zetsu said, scared. With that being said, he sunk into the ground, going to the Uzumaki compound, not knowing what he would find. Uzumaki compound. Naruto woke up at midnight like always. He knew that his sister and mother would be asleep by now, so every day he would wake up so he could train. Every day he would go to the compound library to see what he could read while doing the chakra exercises. He walked through the hallways quietly so that he wouldn't make a sound that would wake up his sister and mother. Once out of the hallway, he made his way to the library. He opened the door to the library and started choosing the books that were interesting to him. Okay, that about it, let me see. He looks over at the books he chose. Yeet, that's everything. He finishes and is about to leave when he heard something coming out of the ground. Naruto turns around and sees a plant-like thing coming out of the ground. The plant-like thing opens up and reveals a person with one side black and the other white, both having yellow eyes. Naruto was shocked for two reasons. One was because he had never seen a person like him before. And two, was because of how he got into the compound. He knew only the people his mother let in could get in, but this person thing just came in without his mother knowing. Zetsu opens up and the first thing he sees is a little red-headed boy in front of him. He was confused as to why the boy was there. I mean, he knew that people by now would be asleep, so why was this kid awake? He notices that the kid had books with him of different types of genres. He also notices that the kid was just standing there not moving and knew that he wasn't going to do anything soon, so he spoke first. "Who are you?" Black Zetsu spoke. Naruto was knocked out of his thoughts when he heard the plant man speak. He pauses. Naruto said cautiously. Zetsu nods. And since Naruto wasn't going to speak anytime soon, he took some time to get a look at Naruto more. By the looks of it, the kid had started to do basics in chakra control. He saw the books. Remember, he was healthy for his age and intelligent too. When he reached his face, he saw the kid had 3 identical whisker marks on each cheek, which made him confused since he knew babies or people aren't born with whisker marks, but what surprised him was his hair and eyes. He had red hair with purple eyes. Zetsu only knew of 2 people who had both, and one was the wife of Madara, but he knew she was dead, so it had to be Kushina, the daughter of Madara. This made him suspicious. Zetsu asking, "Is your last name by any chance Uzumaki?" Getting the kid, who was still scared in fear, to look at him. Hi, Naruto said, still not sure whether to trust the plant man, but he knew that it could kill him in seconds. He saw that the plant man looked satisfied when he said he was a Uzumaki, so he thought maybe all he wanted was info, not hurt him. "Is your mother by any chance Kushina Uzumaki?" Zetsu asks again, wanting to confirm his suspicions. When Zetsu said his Ka-san's name, he wondered how he knew her, but nonetheless he nodded. "I see." Zetsu said, "I need you to come with us," he said, demanded, knowing that if he brought Naruto to Madara, then the old man won't be depressed anymore, which made him annoyed. Where? Naruto asks. "To our master," Zetsu said. Will I come back?" Naruto says, wanting to know if he was going to come back to his family or not. He didn't want to leave because his family would be worried sick of him or would beat the shit out of him for leaving without saying. "Yes," Zetsu says, putting his hand out for Naruto to take. Naruto looks at the handout and doesn't do anything, debating to himself whether to go or not, but after 2 minutes he grabs the hand. And once he grabbed the hand, he started sinking to the ground. Unknown place. Madara was sitting in his throne, lonely, waiting for Zetsu to show up, while at the same time remembering the things that happened. Once he had learned of the Kyuubi attack in Konoha, he immediately sent out Zetsu to look and see if his daughter was okay. But when he came back, he had told him that she was dead. He saw the clone's body, making him feel as if the world didn't matter anymore. She was the last thing that was precious to him, and now she was gone. The necklace that he left Kushina was the only thing that connected him to her. When she had been born, that was the happiest moment in his life, but he knew that if he stayed, then he would cause trouble to Uzumaki. Since he had enemies outside, they would try and hunt him down, even to go as far as to kill his family just so they could ruin his. Well, that is if they found out, but they didn't. He had been snapped out of his thoughts when he heard something coming out of the ground. He turned around and saw that it was Zetsu. He thought it would take longer, but he guessed he had found it quicker. "Have you found it, Zetsu?" Madara said. The white half of Zetsu spoke up. "Well, you see," he said nervously. Madara narrowed his eyes. "You see what? We didn't find it, Black Zetsu was cut off by a very, very angry Madara. "What I told you to not come back without the necklace," Madara said angrily. He specifically told Zetsu to not come back without it, and he did just that. "Are you ready to pay the consequences for disobey?" This time Madara was cut off by Zetsu. Wait, you didn't let us finish," yelled Zetsu frantically. He saw that Madara had calmed down a bit, not much but a bit, so he continued quickly since he didn't want to get Madara angry for keeping him waiting. "As we were saying, we didn't find the necklace, but we found something else. It's something that might surprise you and interest you," Zetsu said. Now at this Madara was interested. It's not every day that Zetsu brings interesting news, or better yet things. Well, what is it? Madara said anxiously. Zetsu saw that Madara really wanted to see what it was he brought, so he opened his large Venus flytrap-like extensions a little more, and within it was Naruto, who was looking confused. Madara saw that a little red-haired boy came out. He had purple eyes and 3 whisker mark on each cheek, with clothes that he knew were his pajamas. Although he looked more at the kid's red hair and purple eyes, which got him thinking. He only knew of 2 people who had red hair and purple eyes but were dead now, so he put that thought away. He noticed that the kid looked confused. Naruto was just standing there looking confused. One moment he was in his home's library and the next he was in this big dark place with a white-haired old man in the middle looking at him. Zetsu spoke up. "This is what we found, Madara-sama, this kid," he said, pointing at Naruto. Madara looked at Zetsu. "And who exactly is this?" He was really intrigued on knowing who this kid was. "This is Little Tomato," White Zetsu said happily. Naruto grew a tick mark when Zetsu had said, "Little Tomato." He didn't know why, but he hated being called tomato or anything that was an insult to his hair. "I'm not a tomato," he screamed at Zetsu. Madara was surprised by the outburst. 1 minute he was confused but calm, and the next he was angry at Zetsu for just saying, "Little Tomato." "So why did you bring him here?" Madara said, still wanting to know why he brought this kid here to his lair. "The reason why we brought this kid here is because of who he is related to," Zetsu said. "And who exactly is he related to?" Madara asked. "Well, rather you ask him, Madara-sama," Zetsu said, since he wanted to see how Madara reacted when the kid told him himself who he was related to. When Zetsu said that, Madara got a bit angry. Could he just tell him to get it over with, but was curious too. So Madara turned and looked at Naruto, who just stayed there looking at them calmly even after the little outburst. "Come here, child," Madara said in a commanding tone. So Naruto came over to him. "What is your name, child?" he asked. "Naruto," Naruto said calmly, not wanting to look bad toward this old man. "Last name?" Madara said. Maybe this child belonged to a clan. That's why Zetsu brought him, because of his unique clan. Naruto didn't know why this old man wanted his last name but went with it. "Uzumaki," he said. Time froze for Madara towards what Naruto said. "Uzumaki?" He only knew of 2 people who had that last name. One was his wife, but she had died long ago, so it only left his daughter, though from what he had heard was that she was dead. Madara looked at Naruto for a few more seconds until Naruto spoke, breaking the tension that was happening. "Hey, you alright? You froze when I said that my last name was Uzumaki," Naruto asked. Madara spoke. "Yes, I'm alright, thank you. Now where was I? Oh yes, now if you don't mind me asking, who was your mother?" He asked, really hoping that Naruto said what he wanted to her. Again Naruto was hesitant but answered nonetheless. "Kushina Uzumaki," he said. Madara was overjoyed and started tearing up. Right in front of him was his grandson living. He didn't know that Kushina was pregnant, but the proof was right in front of him. Although he still wanted to know one more thing. "Naruto-kun, this is really important to me, so I want you to answer me truthfully, okay?" He saw Naruto nod, so he asked, "Is Kushina-chan alive?" Again Naruto hesitated, since he didn't know whether to trust this old man on telling his Ka-san was alive or not. But alas, he said it. "Hi, she's with Nei-chan." Madara had tears running down his face for 2 reasons. One was that his own daughter was alive, and the second was that he had 2 grandchildren, not just Naruto but another one. Naruto just watched silently as the old man cried once, saying that his Ka-san was alive. He was confused as hell but stayed quiet nonetheless. Zetsu watched the whole thing in silence with a tiny smile on both halves. He knew that with Naruto saying that Kushina was alive and that he had 2 grandchildren, one of which was standing in front of him, would make him happy and not be glum anymore, which he hated. -5 minutes later, Madara had finally stopped crying and looked at Naruto. His grandchild had to know who he was. It was only fair since Naruto told him anything, so he had to know. "Naruto, come here," he said. Naruto went over to the old man. "Hi," Naruto says. "What I am about to tell you is something that cannot leave this place, okay?" Madara says in a calm yet dangerous tone. Naruto nods. "You see, the reason that I wanted to know if your mother was alive was because I didn't know she was alive until 5 years ago, and then 4 years ago I had been told that she was dead, making me feel as the world didn't matter. But do you why I care so much for her?" Naruto shook negative. The reason I care so much is because it's a father's job to do so. Naruto's eyes widened and was about to speak when Madara interrupted him. Yes, Naruto, I am your grandfather. My full name is Madara Uchiha, father of Kushina Uzumaki Uchiha, and you are my grandchild, Madara finished. Naruto just stood there with wide eyes because right in front of him was his grandfather, the Madara Uchiha. He didn't know what to say, so he did something that anybody would have done. He went up to his Oji-san until he was about 2 feet from him and then hugged him. Madara was surprised by this but hugged Naruto back. Zetsu, who was still silent, smiled even more. I mean, who wouldn't? This scene was so touching. Once finishing, Naruto spoke. Madara, Gigi, where are we? He asked. Madara smiled. We are in my lair, he said. Oh, it's pretty big and dark, don't you get lonely? Naruto asked. I do, but enough about my loneliness, tell what has been happening in your life, Madara said. Naruto explains that he started doing the basics in chakra control and about the assassination attempts that have happened that could have killed him and his sister if it weren't for his mother. Madara was amazed that Naruto started doing the basics in chakra control at the age of 4, which amazed him, but got upset when he heard of the assassination attempts. After Naruto had finished, he remembered something very important. Wait, what time is it? Oh no, what if Ka-san starts worrying? Oh, Ka-san is gonna kill me, he says frantically. Madara looks at Naruto and chuckles. The whole scene was just funny for him. Don't worry Naruto, you only been here 3 hours. He sees that Naruto calms down but soon yawns. It seems you're sleepy, Husai. Well, I guess it's time for you to go, he says sadly. I mean, he wanted to spend more time with him, but if he didn't go home the Kushina would start worrying. Hi Gigi, Naruto says. Wait, will I come back? He asked. Yes, you will. You just call for Zetsu and he'll appear, although do it at night, okay? Naruto nods. Good. Now Zetsu, please take Naruto back. Oh, and Naruto, remember, don't tell anyone about this, not even Kushina and Natsumi, okay? Naruto nods again. Zetsu goes to Naruto and grabs his shoulder. Bye Gigi, I'll come back tomorrow, Naruto says as he and Zetsu sink into the ground. Bye Naruto, Madara says with a happy smile. Uzumaki compound. Naruto and Zetsu appear in the library where Naruto was before he left. Thank you Zetsu, Naruto says to Zetsu. You're welcome Naruto-sama, now go and sleep, call us tomorrow to pick you up, Zetsu said. Don't call me Naruto-sama, just Naruto is fine, Naruto said to Zetsu with a smile. Zetsu was taken back by that but complied nonetheless. Hi Naruto. Good night, Zetsu said, sinking back into the ground. Naruto goes to his room and goes to bed with his sister. He stays awake for 5 minutes thinking about what happened until he fell asleep with one thought in his mind. Things are sure gonna change from here on. Next day, after meeting Madara, Naruto opened his eyes as the light shone through the hole-filled curtains of their room. He looked down upon the still resting face of his twin sister Natsumi. He almost yelled out, kawaii, with how she looked, so peaceful and cute. He brought his arm around her again as he drew her back in close. She snuggled into the warmth, and he just lay there waiting for her to awaken. About 10 minutes later, curious purple eyes flew open, flickering around the room. Good morning Naruto ni, she mumbled as she rubbed her eyes with her balled-up hands. Naruto smiled. Good morning Natsumi-chan, he replied happily. Nay, Oni-chan, do you think Anko ne, Yugo ne, Kurenai ne, and Hana ne are going to visit today? Natsumi said. She always loved when they came. I don't know Natsumi-chan, maybe, Naruto said. Anyways, let's go take a bath so we can go eat breakfast, maybe it's ramen, he said. She got up and went straight to the bathroom. She was always energetic, so he got up and went to take a bath too. After bath, Naruto came out with a black long-sleeved shirt and blue pants. Natsumi came out with a white t-shirt and blue pants too. They started walking out of their bedroom towards the kitchen where by now their mother would be awake and started to make breakfast. As they walked, they each had different thoughts going through their minds. Naruto had been thinking about what Madara had said last night. He was the grandson of the Madara Uchiha trader to the Hidden Leaf village, making him part Uchiha and part Uzumaki, but he didn't look Uchiha or doesn't have the Sharingan. He'll figure it out tonight when he asks Madara, but for now he was going to keep his promise to his Gigi on not telling his mom or sister about Madara being their father. Natsumi on the other hand was thinking on whether telling her Oni-chan about what happened yesterday with their mother. She wanted her Oni-chan to know, he was a part of the family too. But her mother did say she was fine, so for no she would say nothing, that is if it doesn't happen again. Once the twins got to the dining room, they saw two familiar faces sitting on the table. There on one of the chairs was Tsunade Senju, the godmother of Naruto Uzumaki and Natsumi Uzumaki, Konoha's slug princess Tsunade, Konoha no Namakuji Tsunadehime, Konoha no Namakuji Tsunade Hime, the legendary sucker, Densetsu no Kamo, Densetsu no Kamo, known for her misfortune in gambling, and one of 3 legendary shinobi, Densetsu no Sanin, Densetsu no Sanin. The second person was Shizune Kato, Tsunade's first apprentice. Shizune is a very capable kunoichi and a highly talented medical nen. Shizune is the niece of Dan Kato, a renowned shinobi of Konoha. Sometime after her uncle's death, Tsunade, his lover, left Konoha and Shizune went with Tsunade. Oba-san, Nei-chan, screamed Natsumi once she saw them. She loved when they came, even though they visited only 4 times a month, she still loved when they came. Hi Tsunade-chan. Shizune-chan. Naruto greeted them happily, not Natsumi happily but happily. Sure, he loved them when they came but wondered why they always only visited 4 times a month, but left it at that. He respected their privacy. Tsunade and Shizune heard the twins call them and turn around. Naruto-kun, Natsumi-chan. They greeted the twins back. How are you? Tsunade asked. Good, Natsumi said, and Naruto just nodded. When did you guys get here? She asked. About a couple minutes ago while you guys were taking bath, Shizune said. How long are you gonna stay this time? Natsumi asked. She really wished they always stayed longer than a day. Just today, then we have to be going, Tsunade said, and just like Natsumi she also wished that they would stay longer, but Konoha brought bad memories. Oh, Natsumi said sadly. Are you guys going to stay to dinner with us before you leave? She asked. Hi, we will, Tsunade said, smiling a bit. Natsumi smiled happily when she said that she would at least stay for dinner. Naruto just stood there listening. This wasn't new to him. Every time they came they would always leave. Breakfast is ready, Kushina yelled. The twins took their seats and waited for the food to. Once it came, the twins, dug right in, not wasting time. The rest just ate at their own pace. While eating they all talked about different things like how they've been, what have they been up to, or what are they going to do today. Other than that everything went fine. Alright Sochi, Masumi, while we talk here you go play outside, okay? Kushina said. Every time Tsunade and Shizune came it was to make sure that they were okay, since this time around they would always send assassins to try and kill Naruto and Natsumi, so she needed medics to help in case they badly hurt, but thankfully they never got hurt. Still though, you never know. Hi Ka-chan, san, the twins said. They got up and went outside. Natsumi started playing with the things that she saw, which weren't many, but hey, when you're a kid everything around you is fun. Meanwhile Naruto was just sitting there at the doorstep of the back door watching Natsumi play, also listening to what his Ka-san, Tsunade, and Shizune were saying. His Ka-san always told them to go play outside, and he knew it must be important towards what they were talking about, so this time he was going to listen to what is it they were saying. Kushina, Tsunade, Shizune. So Kushina, how many have there been in the past few days? Tsunade asked. She simply loved the twins to death, but for 2 different reasons for both of them. Natsumi because she reminded her of Nawaki, since he was always super active and lovable too. Both of them always saw the good in things rather than bad. Naruto on the other hand, well, she just loved him because of his love for his family and his passion over things. The other thing was his maturity for a young age, which kind of made him even more lovable. No, there hasn't, luckily, Kushina said. Thank goodness, Shizune said, and just like Tsunade she really loved the twins, and if they got hurt, well, she would have gone from a saint to a demon. The villagers will try and send even more assassins than before towards Natsumi, and the same goes for Naruto. The villages will try and kill him. So what are you going to do? Tsunade said. Kushina-chan, can't you tell Hokage-sama to put Anbu to protect Natsumi and Naruto? Shizune suggested. I can't, basically the whole village hates Natsumi, so I can't trust that even the Anbu would try and kill Natsumi. As for Naruto, they would so fascinated that he's his son they would forget to do their duties, Kushina said. I guess you do have a point there, Kushi, Tsunade said, agreeing with Kushina. They all stayed silent for a couple of minutes until Kushina remembered something. This is the last time you're staying, right? Kushina asked. Hi, I can't stay, this place brings bad memories. Tsunade said with Shizune agreeing with her. I know, but what about Natsumi and Naruto? You know they are going to be upset about you leaving, Kushina said. I know, but still I have to go. Sorry Kushina, Tsunade said. Sigh. Okay, it's your decision, Kushina said sadly. She really didn't want her sister figure to leave, and she knows that Naruto and Natsumi would be greatly upset, even though it's weird since Tsunade barely comes yet they are so attached to her and Shizune. Thank you, now we better go before Natsumi and Naruto come or start worrying, Tsunade said, standing up before going to the where Natsumi and Naruto were with Kushina and Shizune following. When three got there they noticed only Natsumi playing gone. Natsumi-chan, where did Naruto go? Kushina asked. Natsumi stopped playing and turned around. Oni-chan said he was going to relax upstairs, she said. Oh okay, was all Kushina said. Tsunade, Shizune, and Kushina just stood there just watching as Natsumi played by herself with everything. They watched with a content smile. Naruto. Naruto was sitting on the floor while reading a book while thinking of what his Ka-san said. I can't, you know, basically the whole village hates Natsumi, so I can't trust that even the Anbu would try and kill Natsumi. Must be because of the Kyuubi, he thought. What other choice was there besides the Kyuubi? She didn't so anything wrong, and besides she couldn't, him and her are always locked in here, not allowed to go anywhere else. He could ask the Kyuubi more, but he couldn't since she wouldn't allow him if he couldn't change his mindscape, and he certainly couldn't ask his mom, so that only left one choice to ask, his Gigi. After lunch, dinner and going to sleep. Again Naruto woke up in the middle of the night as always and went straight to the library, the quietest place and far away from the others. He needed answers now. Zetsu, Naruto called out. He heard something coming out of the ground from behind, so he turned around and saw that it was Zetsu. Opening up, which was still weird to him, but he just shrugged it off. Yes Naruto, Zetsu said. I need you to take me to Madara Gigi. I need answers that he could answer for me, he said, commanded. Hi, Zetsu said, grabbing Naruto by the shoulder and then sinking into the ground. Madara's lair. Madara was sitting in his throne as always since he couldn't move that much due to the fact that the old age caught up to him. He was thinking of what he could do to spend the time with Naruto. He knew that Naruto was no ordinary child, he was extraordinary than any other child, like a diamond brighter than no other. His thoughts were interrupted when he heard something coming out from the ground. He turned and saw that it was Zetsu with Naruto, who had a serious expression catching his attention. Naruto-kun, what's with the serious attention? Madara said in curiosity. Gigi, I want you to answer a question truthfully. Okay, Naruto said, demanding. Madara just nodded, though it irked him that he was doing what A4 said. He was Madara fucking Uchiha and yet he was following a kid. Today I heard an interesting thing, Naruto, and saw that Madara looked focused on what he was saying, so he continued with his story. Tsunade-chan came today like always every time around our Naruto and Natsumi birthday. After we had finished eating breakfast, Ka-san told me and Natsumi to go outside to play, which Natsumi did, though I stayed in the doorstep wanting to hear what they were talking about. I mean, it had to be important since they didn't want me and Natsumi around, so I heard what they were talking about, and Ka-san said something along the lines of, I can't, you know, basically the whole village hates Natsumi, so I can't trust that even the Anbu would try and kill Natsumi. Which is the thing that I don't understand. I mean, isn't the village supposed to treat her nice at least cause she's the Yondaimi's daughter, so why do they hate her? He asked. Madara was just sitting there listening to what Naruto was saying. He was surprised when Naruto spit out the word Yondaime like venom, but went back to the story, and when Naruto finished he knew why they hated her. Remember, Zetsu can get any kind of information, so he knows. But wasn't sure if he should tell Naruto about it. His little mind could be scarred for life if he told, but he still had to answer Naruto truthfully. Naruto, what do you know about the Kyuubi attack in Konoha? He asked, wanting to go slowly and telling Naruto. His jaw dropped by what he was told. The books say that the Kyuubi attacked Konoha, killed many people, left many people orphans, then afterwards the Yondaime came and defeated it. But that's half of the truth, in which people know that they don't know was that the Kyuubi was being controlled by someone into destroying Konoha, and that when it was defeated, it was actually sealed into two babies that night, with me being one and Natsumi being the other. Naruto finished and saw that his Gigi was looking at him with wide eyes. Madara was just stunned, shocked at what Naruto said. Just how could this kid know all of what happened in the Kyuubi attack? And Naruto, how do you know the whole thing? He asked. Well, I might have been told by the Kyuubi, Naruto said the last part low that he was sure Madara couldn't hear it but nonetheless was still heard. A few seconds passed and then, "What?" Madara shouted in outrage. His grandson just admitted that he was told all this information by the Kyuubi, his once used to be tool, and the one who is a being of pure hatred. His grandson has already met the Kyuubi and at an early age that was just astonishing. Most Jinchurikis don't meet them later. High when I was meditating I found myself in my mindscape, so I explored around and found a cage with the seal on it, and well, the rest is not important. Much, Naruto said. After Madara regained his composure he looked at Naruto before saying, "Sai, you just keep impressing me more and more, Naruto-kun," Madara said with a grin. His son was just any ordinary prodigy. He was a diamond that lit brighter than any other diamond. Naruto just scratched the back of his head sheepishly. He was being complimented by his own grandfather, the ex-Uchiha clan head from a clan who were always full of themselves, yet here was one complimenting another. "So anyways, Gigi, back to my question," Naruto said, going back to topic. "Huh? Oh. Any as to why the villagers want to kill her is because sad Sai. They view her as a monster," Madara said, knowing the Leaf's villagers' stupidness and idioticness. Naruto just stood there, only 4 words going through his head: villagers, her, view, monster. He would have thought that the daughter of the oh-so-great Yondaime would have been thought as a hero, but here they are looking at her like a monster, wanting to kill her just because they think she is a monster. That must have been the reason why every year around their birthday there have been assassination attempts on her. It all made sense to him now. "They think she's the Kyuubi, don't they?" Naruto said lowly. "Hi. The villagers see her as a reincarnation of the Kyuubi, thinking she was the one that caused all the damage and killed their loved ones. So they would hire ninja to try and kill Natsumi, thinking that if they killed her then it would avenge their lost ones," Madara said sadly. After telling Zetsu to go find more info on the village, what he got was surprising. It really made him angry. There were papers on how much money they would spend just to try and kill her. It was basically 1/4 of Konoha's funding, but every assassin that they would send they would always end up dead by Kushina. "That just stupid," Naruto screamed. "I mean, how stupid could those villagers be?" Madara didn't do anything, he just watched Naruto explode. He knew that Naruto was right, so he just sat there doing nothing to stop Naruto and his explosion. After a few minutes Naruto calmed down. He was still mad in the inside, but on the outside he looked very calm. "Sai, I guess that's why Tsunade comes every time around our birthday to see if we were hurt," Naruto said. "Yes, despite the fact that Kushina-chan would always defeat her enemies, she still worries that something could happen to you guys," Madara said. At the mention that his Ka-san would always fight her enemies he got upset. She would always fight the ninja that would try and kill them all by herself. He didn't want her to do it by herself, he wanted to do something too. He wanted to protect those precious to him. He didn't want to be useless and watch others like his Ka-san fight for him. Naruto looked at Madara with a determined face. Madara saw this and he hoped he knew what was coming next. Naruto spoke. "Gigi, I have a very favor to ask of you," he said seriously. The ex-Uchiha clan head just smiled. He knew what was to come next. "Yes?" he asked. Naruto inhaled and exhaled air, then he looked at Madara seriously. "I want you to train me," he said, demanded. "And why should I train you, Naruto-kun?" Madara was amusing himself. Of course he was going to train him no matter what. "I want you to train me because I want to get stronger to protect those precious to me. I don't want to be weak and watch them fight for me. No, I want them to watch me protect them," Naruto said with a determined face. Madara just smirked. "Alright, Naruto-kun." Naruto had a smile on his face and was about to glomp his Gigi. But Naruto froze. "Are you willing to do anything for me to train you?" Madara asked. Now Naruto hesitated to answer. I mean, do anything, just receive training for his Gigi. He could just go to someone else and ask for training. But he knew that Madara was the best option. He knew that with him he could become powerful, basically a force to be reckoned with. So with that he made up his mind. "Hi," Naruto said confidently. Then Madara asked a question that almost wanted to make Naruto say no. "Even if it means not being with your family for a long time or maybe never?" Madara asked. That was what made Naruto want to say no. Not being with his Ka-san or his Nei-chan, he didn't know if he could do it. He loved them too much. For him to leave them would break him, knowing he wouldn't be able to be with them. But there was one thing that stopped Naruto from saying no, and that was remembering how his Ka-san went through all the trouble just to protect him and his Nei-chan from danger, even risking her own life to make sure they were safe. He didn't want her to suffer. He wanted to be the one to protect her and Natsumi, to go through danger to make sure they were safe, anything as long as they were safe. With that said, he looked at his Jige and said one word. "Hi," Naruto says. Madara smiled. "Alright Naruto-kun, I will train you." Naruto smiled brightly. He would become powerful enough to protect his Ka-san and Nei-san, but the downside was that he wouldn't be with them. Upstairs, Naruto and Natsumi's bedroom. Naruto woke up from the yelling that his mother made. Seriously, couldn't she just come and shake us awake? Naruto thought. He rubbed his eyes very slowly since he didn't have energy. After all, he had just woken up, so it was natural. After rubbing his eyes slowly, he sat there looking at his surroundings while thinking of last night. Naruto had already made up his choice, and it was for the good of his family, so he had to do it. He would always protect them to make sure they don't suffer. He would. Naruto looked to his right and saw Natsumi sleeping peacefully, like nothing mattered, and was in her own little world of imagination. He would miss seeing her like this. "Natsumi-chan, wake up," Naruto said softly. Natsumi stirred for a little while but soon opened her eyes and saw that Naruto was looking at her. She smiled happily. "Oni-chan," Natsumi greeted happily. "Morning, Nei-chan." He greeted back. "Hurry and get ready, Ka-san already called us," he said. Natsumi nodded and quickly got out of her pajamas. She looked at Naruto and saw that he was already done. He was just waiting for her. She nodded to him to tell him that she was ready. They started to walk out of the room and head to the kitchen, where they were sure that their Ka-san had already made the food and she was just waiting for them to come down so she could start. When they got there, they were right. Kushina was sitting there all alone with 3 plates on the table, 1 for her and 2 for them. The food on the plates looked delicious, obviously since they woke up, but nonetheless the way their Ka-san made it was delicious. They moved forward and sat down on the table ready to eat. But first, "Good morning, Ka-chan," Natsumi said excitedly as always. "Good morning, Ka-san," Naruto said with a smile. Kushina smiled warmly at them. "Good morning, Masumi, Sochi." After saying that, then they could start eating it, since it would be rude not to greet them first. They ate happily. Of course Naruto was more happier, but they didn't notice. For Naruto, well, he seemed peaceful. This whole scene was basically beautiful. His mom, sister and him eating like a family should, without worrying about anything else. He knew he would miss this, all because of this village, he thought. His thoughts were broken when he heard his mother talking. "You guys better hurry and finish, if not then you won't get to see who is coming today," Kushina said. That piqued their interests. "Who?" they both said at the same time. "The ones who are coming today are, is," Kushina pauses as the twins lean over. "A surprise," she finally said. Both faceful. How could their mother do that? Kushina just laughs seeing their faces. Growls Ka-san, "That is not funny," Natsumi said enraged. Naruto just nods. As for Kushina, well, she just laughed even more. She went on for 3 minutes laughing while the other 2 just grumbled about how unfair their Ka-san was being, or she is being mean again. Kushina eventually calmed down. Okay, but seriously, it's a surprise, so hurry up and get ready. By the time you finish they should be here," Kushina said. Naruto and Natsumi eventually finished their breakfast and got up to get ready, though they were still wondered who was it. Kushina grabbed the dishes and started washing them with a smirk on her face, hoping they would enjoy their surprise. Minus 25 minutes later. The twins took their bath and got all dressed up. Naruto was dressed in a black shirt with a red Uzumaki swirl on the back and black cargo pants. His spiky red hair pointing in every direction. Natsumi was dressed in a knee-length, purple dress that covered all of her body with sleeves to her elbows. Her blood-red hair reaching her shoulders. The both of them started walking downstairs slowly. They couldn't wait to see who it was that was coming to the house. Natsumi and Naruto finally appeared downstairs, and who they saw surprised them. There on the table with their mom was Kurenai Yuhi, Anko Mitarashi, Yugo Izuki, Hana Inuzuka, Sume Inuzuka. Makoto Uchiha. With her was her son, Itachi Uchiha, and her 4-year-old Satsuki Uchiha. They were surprised, mostly Natsumi, seeing she hadn't seen her Oni-chans, both her mother figures and her best friend in a long time. Well, if you consider 3 weeks a long time. Naruto, well, he was kind of surprised. He was only happy because now instead spending time with his mom and sister he could spend time with those he cared about. He unconsciously grinned. Nei-chan's, Sume Oba, Makoto Oba, Satsuki-chan, Itachi Aniki, Natsumi yelled happily. Said people turned their heads towards the loud-mouthed girl that yelled their names and her brother who didn't say anything but was just grinning happily and seeing them. Natsumi-chan, Naruto-kun. They all said happily they just loved the twins so much. Natsumi rocketed towards them and immediately started hugging them like if she hadn't seen them in years. The girls each returning the hug and Itachi giving her a hug too. Naruto, he just came slowly to them and gave a hug to each one of them like Natsumi did, though he did see little blush on each and every one of them, except Itachi, who controlled his emotions, with Satsuki being a little more red, but he just went on like he saw nothing. After that was done they each settled down. So Natsumi-chan, Naruto-kun, how have you guys been? Anko asked. We're good, but everything is boring without you guys here, Natsumi said, whined. They all just giggled. Natsumi was always like this. Naruto just agrees with her. Well, we couldn't be here because we're busy, you know, some of us have missions to do, clan things and other things, Makoto said. Okay, I forgive you guys, for now. Just don't forget us again, okay? Natsumi said sternly. Don't worry Natsumi, we won't, Hana said. Naruto-kun, you've been quiet all this time, why? Sume asked. She had seen he had been quiet this whole time they were talking, only observing them. Naruto was about to respond but someone else beat him to it. Maybe he's just too shy to talk, Anko said teasingly while the others agreed. But Naruto wasn't going to let that go by. No, it was just fun seeing 6 adults and a teenager get lectured by my Imouto who is only 4 years old, Naruto said snickering. Satsuki, Natsumi and Kushina were also snicker. It was just funny seeing the others blush from embarrassment. Okay, you got us there Naruto-kun, Yugo said. They all stayed silent for a couple before Kushina spoke up. Masumi, why don't you take Satsuki-chan, Itachi-chan, and Sochi out to play, Kushina said. What, why? I want to spend more time with Oni-chans, and my Oba-chans. Natsumi complained. They just got here, she wanted to spend more time with them. Don't worry Natsumi-chan, once we finish talking to sensei we will go and play with you guys, okay? Kurenai said with a warm smile, the others agreeing with her. Natsumi complied even though she didn't want to but did. She grabbed Satsuki's and Naruto's hand and started walking outside while Itachi just followed them. Once they were outside, Natsumi, Satsuki, and Itachi started playing ninja with Itachi, while Naruto sat on the doorstep just watching them and at the same time hearing what his Ka-san and the others were talking about. Kushina and the others. Once the kids were out of sight, Kushina turned to the others with a serious face telling them that it was time to get down to business. So how many so far? Anko said, breaking the ice. None so far, which is rare because they always arrived the first day of the week, Kushina said, wondering at the same time why haven't they come. Yeah, that is weird, Makoto said. She worried for the twins and Kushina. But don't let your guard down, they could come anytime, she warned. Of course, why would I, Kushina said. No reason, it's just that for the past 4 years they would always come the first day, so you would never know when they might show up, Sume said. I know, but can I tell you guys something? Kushina asked. Of course sensei, you could tell us anything, Hana said curiously. I've been feeling something about 2 weeks ago, Kushina said, a bit worried. They could hear how worried she was. What's wrong sensei, are you sick? Yugo said, worried. No, it's just a feeling like something is going to happen. Something bad, Kushina said. You too, huh? A voice said. They turned around and saw the third Hokage behind them looking at them. Gigi, you're here, Kushina exclaimed happily at seeing her surrogate grandfather figure. She was about to go hug him when she remembered what he said. Wait, what do you mean, you too? She questioned. What I meant was that I too am feeling what you are feeling, Hiruzen said. I am with you on this one sensei, said 2 voices. They turned around and saw Tsunade with her apprentice Shizune and Jiraiya right behind Hiruzen. So I guess we are not the only ones, Kushina said. You got that right, Tsunade said. They all stayed silent for a couple of minutes. Hey look, I know you guys have this feeling, but come on, right now we have an objective to complete, we can't be moping around trying to figure this out, Anko said bluntly. The other just nod. They knew what that object was, and that was to protect Naruto and Natsumi from any harm. You guys are right, we'll figure this out later. Right now we have to protect my Sochi and Masumi, Kushina said with determination in her eyes. They all twins right now were more important. They loved them too much so they didn't want them to get hurt. With that said, the adults all went back over to Natsumi, Naruto, Satsuki, and Itachi. Natsumi, Naruto, Satsuki, and Itachi a few minutes earlier. Naruto, hearing everything he needed to, went back to his sister and enjoy the time he had with her. Oni-chan, finally you come and play. Natsumi says happily. Sorry Imouto, since we just ate I didn't want to get a cramp, lied Naruto. Natsumi nodded, accepting the lie, and started playing again with her best friend, who somehow had a little red on her face, her best friend's brother, and her brother. Minutes later, after the adults came back to where the children were playing, they saw Itachi chasing Naruto, Satsuki, and Natsumi, all of whom were having fun. They were though a little surprised of Naruto, mostly because he was a more cool-headed than Kushina and Natsumi, but they just figured it must be because he was still a little kid. All the adults stayed there the doorstep watching them as the kids had fun for a couple of minutes. As for the kids, well, after their little game they saw that the adults had finished talking and were just standing on the doorstep watching them have their fun, so they decided on something. Ka-chan, Oba-chan's, Aro-senin, Gigi, Nate-chan's come play with us. Natsumi exclaimed happily. The more the merrier, and that way she could spend more time with her Oba-chan's and Nate-chan's. With Naruto thinking the same thing, he would at least spend the time he has left with those precious to him. As for the adults that were on the doorstep, well, they gladly accepted Natsumi's invitation. So what are we playing, Natsumi-chan? Sume asked. Natsumi went into a thinking pose. Then she thought of one. Hide and seek, she exclaimed happily. The children and adults each nodded. It was an easy game, well, at least for the adults, I mean they kids, and they are high-skilled shinobi, so how hard could it be to find little kids? They each had no idea what they had each gotten themselves into. 6 hours later. 6 hours of hell is what the so-called high-skilled shinobi would call it. Inside the once beautiful house of the Uzumaki family clan was now a wreck. The game of hide and seek, a simple game that is not that hard to play, turned into something chaotic. The adults had thought that kids with no training in the arts of stealth and traps, well, besides Itachi, but was just starting, would be easy to find, but unfortunately what they believed had turned into a nightmare. They who were more skilled in those two arts couldn't find even one of them, not one, but they were the ones who accepted the invitation, so might as well go with the game and finish it. And at last, when everything seemed lost, they found them, and where, you might ask, well, in a place that was so obvious but haven't thought of, was the damn fucking attic. But alas, all good things must come to an end, and so it was time for the visiting adult and kids to leave to their homes and for the Uzumaki family to go to sleep. Bye Natsumi-chan, Naruto-kun, Kushina-chan, sensei. The adults waved from the gate as it opened. Bye Natsumi, Naruto, Itachi, and Satsuki said, also waving back to the family. Bye, come again. The Uzumaki redheads said, waving goodbye to their friend and family. With their goodbyes said, the visitors, family-like figures, went past the gate to their homes, and as for the Uzumakis, they went back inside to their home to get some shut-eye. Kushina, Natsumi, and Naruto each started to get ready for bed. They took their baths, brushed their teeth, and finally got into their PJs. The twins were about to enter their room when their Ka-chan-san stopped them. Sochi, Masumi, could you guys sleep with me tonight? Kushina asked. Demanded, but you could hear worry and love in there, although you couldn't hear it, but Naruto did and instantly knew why. Sure Ka-chan, Naruto said with a smile. Natsumi nodding slowly because of her sleepiness. Kushina just smiled happily and went to her room with the twins behind her. She was afraid in leaving them alone when an assassin could come and attack them out of the blue, and he hadn't come the first day, so it was you had to keep your guard up at all times. Once entering the room, they quickly got into bed, wanting to go to sleep since they were all exhausted from playing all day. Kushina was in the middle with Natsumi and Naruto by her side, snuggling with her. For Naruto, this was peaceful with nothing to worry about. Things seemed right. This is the way things should. But all beautiful things must come to an end. Nate, Gigi, can we start the whole training in 1 week? Naruto asked. Why is that, Naruto-kun? Madara asked curiously, wanting to know why his new apprentice would hold back his training. Because, since I won't be with them, family and precious people, then I might as well spend the time that I have left with them, Naruto said. Madara understood. Naruto might or might never see his family again, might as well spend the time he has left with those he cares about. I understand, Naruto-kun. Now go and remember, in 1 week Zetsu will pick you up, Madara said. Naruto nodded. Zetsu, who was silent the whole time, grabbed his shoulder and they started to sink into the ground. Soon they were gone. Uzumaki compound. Naruto and Zetsu started to rise out of the ground in the library. Thank you, Zetsu, and I'll see you in a week, Naruto said. You're welcome, Naruto-sama, Zetsu said back and nodded to the second part. Naruto starts going back to his room and Zetsu just sank back to the ground. Bedroom. Naruto came back to his room and saw the sleeping face of Natsumi. She looked so peaceful and cute to bad that he might or might never see her with that face again. Naruto laid down right next to his Nate-chan. He looked at her one last time before going to sleep. With one thought in his mind. Life sure is going to be interesting from now on.